Thanks now to talk more about the Clinton side of the post-debate conversation. Congressman Adam Schiff, he's the California Democrat. He's a Hillary Clinton supporter. Thanks very much, Congressman, for joining us. So what's your confidence level right now following the debate last night and taking a look at this new NBC News Wall Street Journal poll?
Well, I feel very optimistic, but nothing to be complacent about. We've seen a very volatile campaign season, and we've seen Trump come back time after time, so the effort is really going to be to get out those voters. But I was particularly struck by several things during the debate last night, not the least of which Donald Trump, all evidence to the contrary, saying we still don't know that Russia is involved with hacking our institutions. This after the Director of National Intelligence as well as the Secretary of Homeland Security came out with such a strong statement implicating the Kremlin. So a lot jarring.
And you have no doubt, and you're the ranking Democrat on the House Intelligence Committee, you have no doubt that Russia, high-ranking Russian government officials at the highest levels are involved in these hacking operations? I
think the intelligence leadership said it very clearly, yes, that we know the Russians are hacking us. And those kind of decisions are not made at a low level. They're obviously very significant in terms of the relations between our two countries. And Putin has a small circle of people. This is not the kind of decision that's going to get delegated to a low-level person.
So it couldn't happen without Putin's authorization?
I don't think that's possible. This is such a deliberate interference, such a ham-handed interference with this hacking of institutions, the dumping of our documents. It goes to very senior levels, and there aren't many people in those senior levels besides Putin.
What was your reaction when you heard Donald Trump look at Hillary Clinton and say if he's elected president, he will ask the Justice Department to name a special prosecutor to go after her once again? And he also suggested if he were president, she'd be in jail.
Well, I was an assistant U.S. attorney for 6 years, and I was appalled to hear that. It's so antithetical to how the Justice Department is supposed to work. But more than that, I remember countless times that I was a part of a bipartisan congressional delegation meeting with representatives of new fledgling democracies and talking about the importance of not threatening to jail the opposition if you win the election. That's what third world countries do. And to hear the Republican nominee for the presidency say that's what we ought to do was just a shocking ignorance in terms of how our democracy works.
I want to play a clip. Mike Pence, the vice presidential running mate, just moments ago blasted Hillary Clinton for the transcripts that WikiLeaks has now released of her Wall Street speeches for which she earned hundreds of thousands of dollars. Listen to this.
Here's another excerpt speaking to a Brazilian bank. Did you hear this? Speaking to a Brazilian bank, this is an excerpt from her speech. She said, quote, her dream was, quote, a hemisphere common market with open trade and open borders.
All right, she's getting a lot of grief for that. I assume you've read those transcripts. What was your take?
You know, I haven't read the transcripts. I've seen the excerpts that have been published. I don't know what to make of that, frankly, except that this is Mike Pence trying to distract from all the problems his running mate has. And I know Mike very well. We came into Congress together, and I have to say it's sad to see him continue to embrace Donald Trump even after this past week. I think it can't help but injure his reputation. But he's being a dutiful soldier here, and the best I think the Trump campaign can do is point at these transcripts and say, look, not here.
The transcripts also have her saying, look, it's one thing you have to have a public position, but you have to have a private position as well, which could be different. And that seemed to suggest, according to her critics, that she was being two-faced.
You know, that's the criticism they leveled, but again, not really seeing what was involved in that conversation. It's hard to tell. During the debate last night, you talked about that in the context of Lincoln and how Lincoln would have different audiences that when he was trying to make his point and persuade them. This is frankly not so much a what you say inside and outside, but knowing that, okay, this economic argument will move people who respond to the economy. This argument on the moral high ground will move other people. That's the kind of approach that legislative leadership uses quite often.
On this conference call this morning, the House Speaker, Paul Ryan, told Republican members of the House, do what you got to do. I'm going to spend my time exclusively trying to get Republicans elected because he doesn't want if Hillary Clinton becomes president, a Democratic majority in the House of Representatives or the Senate for that matter. Do you feel, as a member of the House, that is possible? There could be a Democratic majority in the House of Representatives?
That is very possible now. And I think this is exactly why Paul Ryan is throwing Trump, if not under the bus, at least away from him as far as possible, and telling his members, do what you need to do, support him, don't support him, I don't care, he's going to lose anyway. That's the basic message. Save yourselves. Jump off the raft if you have to. And if those polls that you just showed are accurate, and the generic has Democrats up now 7%, who would you vote for in the congressional race? Who do you prefer to be in the majority in Congress? If those numbers hold, then yes, you could have the size of a wave we would need to take back the House.
It would have to be a huge wave given the majority that the Republicans currently have. Congressman, thanks very much for joining us.
Thanks, Wolf.